Let's go!
From Nintendo and Illumination
The Super Mario Brothers can take care of the kingdom.
comes a super-powered adventure. On April 1st,
Pack our things.
the galaxy gets even bigger.
He knows that's my bike, right?
The Super Mario Galaxy movie. Rated PG. Only theaters April 1st. Get tickets now.
So this episode, without getting into the sad reality of it, Randy put it a good way when he kind of was memorializing him in the Discord chat, like hang his jersey in the rafters. And I know, sports ball, what's a sports ball? But I feel like this is kind of what we're doing here. We lost a deprogrammed great, and it's obviously more than the pod, but he was a huge part of our community, and the community kind of was like a lot of the people that are here today are here through the pod and knew Peter through the pod, and really music was really just a central part of Peter's life. And if you knew Peter, whether we were doing the pod or not, it was music conversations. Like we'd be dragging dead bodies from the train, right, Jenny, and just be talking about whatever fucking music we were listening to that week. Like it was just such a central part to Peter.
Yeah, I think a lot of what I knew about him was about like his music and movies and TV preferences and that sort of thing. I don't know how many playlists we used to make together. We used to have a Facebook group where we'd come up with a theme and then just add a bunch of songs to it. And for whatever reason, I went and cleaned a bunch of those out. And so as soon as I found out he passed, I like panicked and went through and like dug a bunch of those up and like made sure I took screenshots, to kind of preserve all that, because it was such a huge part of all the things that we would talk about. And, we made like fantasy playlists for TV shows and movies and stuff like, oh, this could have been part of the soundtrack. This could have been part of the soundtrack, So it's, I don't know, it's crazy.
Yeah.
I'm still in denial, I think.
Yeah,
just a little bit.
for sure. I mean, it's not easy to get that phone call. And I mean, if I'm being honest, it's not easy to make that phone call either after getting the phone call. But like,
trust me, I know.
yeah, right? Like you had to make one as well. And it's not something you ever think you're going to have to do. I mean, it brings up a lot of questions, but like, I don't know, man, like this is the thing that I've been wrestling with a lot since finding out, is knowing Peter the way I did. Like he would have been upset the fact that we took 3 days to record the next pod because he passed. Like, like, I mean, I couldn't have done it that Friday. Like that was a no-brainer. Like that's not happening. But like, he would have wanted us to just continue, and he would want us to be fucking around. Like,
just do it, you pussies.
Exactly. Like he would want us, like, tying it to like playing video games with him. Like he was Leroy Jenkins. Like it would always be that. Like he would just go balls deep in, and it'd be like, okay, well, I guess that's the route. That's what we're doing. And just fucking do it, pussies. Like get up, stop being sad.
He probably would have sent you the Shia LaBeouf. Just do it.
Yes, exactly that. Yes, just do it. And in that regard, he still is continuing to bring light into this world, because here we are, getting to talk about our friend in a glowing manner, because he brought so much light to this community. And I wanted to pass it to John here real quick because like John has been on God knows how many episodes of Deprogrammed, and you did the math and you went and looked over and it was only like 8 episodes, you said.
Yeah, eight proper episodes plus the championship editions, which count for, 5 each probably. But what you were saying, it's like, yeah, like he's gone, which is still hard to say, like so young. But there's hundreds of hours of him talking about this thing that he loves on this podcast, and that's a really like not to be flattered, but that's like a beautiful special thing, and like people can go back and listen and you can hear how like passionate he was about these songs and these bands. And yeah, I mean, like I was surprised that it was only 8 plus the other 2, because I would have thought it would have been a lot more. Like he was on the very first episode of Deep Program that I listened to, the Pearl Jam episode that you guys did back all of 10 years ago.
Yeah,
He was one of the first voices I heard on this podcast. So I always associated him with it. And I listened to a lot of his episodes back when I was first listening. And, he always like struck me as someone like who he could talk about anything. Like he would do any band. Like if someone put up something, he'd be like, yeah, I'll do that.
Mm-hmm.
He had like such an open mind and such like a curious mind towards music. And like, that's something I always like admired about him.
Also hanging out in the chat, Anderson, you just came aboard to the show last year. I see you're muted. There you go. But your short time with the show was mostly with Peter, if I recall correctly. I mean, probably half of your episodes were with him.
Surprisingly, I only had one, and
Oh.
it was my first one.
Okay.
Yeah,
I did the math incorrectly.
yeah, he did Sponge with me. We're going to do Everclear, and he had
That's
to back
right.
out
Yeah, that's right.
last day, and that's okay. Yeah, I wanted to hop in, being that I'm still fairly new to all of this. Yeah, I can talk more of as a fan of the show than someone who's been my friend for a lot of years, because I didn't know him all that well, but I've listened to him for hours upon hours since then.
Yeah.
Peter was on the first episode I listened to as well.
Wow.
And yeah, it was Peter and Jenny and some guy Jenny knows, Scott or something.
Oh.
And I remember listening to it, and like the whole thing was just hot take after hot take. You guys were doing one of my favorite bands, and I was getting really upset about it because you kept missing like song after song that I loved. And like you got to the end, and there was one in particular that was missing. And Peter was the last to go, and it was his last dump out. He was just, oh yeah, and Big Dipper. It was the Cracker episode.
Wow.
And, just that throwaway number 20 pick is the reason why I watched another episode.
Wow.
Or listened, whatever.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and it goes to show that, hey, it's not always the big songs. It's the little things that'll really draw a person in. And Peter was a master of that. He was on so many bands I love, so many bands that I wouldn't associate with bands I love. This guy he did Ozzy, he did Miley Cyrus, he did Dre.
Yep.
And I mean, he would have done them all in the same week if he could.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what John's, to tack onto that. Yeah. He was always, and I think this is a good time to bring it up since we're there, hilariously and probably a deprogrammed once and only time. We did Edwin Collins. It was Jenny, Peter, and myself. And we were all like, yeah, that one song is
God.
pretty good. And we went and listened to it, and all three of us, it was a discovery for all three of us, and we all came away with, well, yeah, that one song is pretty good.
Oh God, we're all trying so hard to just fucking be nice.
Yeah.
Just not shit on this guy completely, but because it wasn't terrible, it just wasn't good.
Yeah. I think in hindsight, like, it just didn't hit any of our, like, it didn't scratch an itch for that. It's wild that it didn't scratch an itch for any of the three of us. Like, you would
Yeah.
think something would have found any of the three of us, and we're all pretty open-minded, but it didn't do the trick at all. And again, like,
No,
none of it was bad. It just, and I feel like we kept hammering that point home, and Peter's just like, yeah, this guy's, he's not bad. It's just this one song is
46 and
good.
2.
46 and 2 indeed.
Okay, I'm gonna stop right now. I'm gonna stop.
And for the record, before we move on, "A Girl Like You" is the name of the song, the Edwyn Collins song that coincides if you listen to the playlist.
Yeah. So I think that's when we discovered that for Discovery, somebody needs to have listened to more than just
Yes.
one song before we put it on the panel.
Yes. And it's never going to be me, especially not now. But yeah, it is. I mean, again, you discover things as you go, and Peter was always willing to discover, and he was always like, we did Space Hog at the like drop of a hat, and I don't think he had heard anything but the one record, and like we turned it around in like 3 days or something, and he jumped up and was like, yeah, man, I'll do that. And it was like, all right, cool, here we go, let's do Space Hog. And I mean, not dissimilar. No, man, that's not right, because that first record is really good. I don't remember much from the Chinese album, but the first record is really good, Resident Alien. But
Yeah.
no, he was just down, is I guess the best way to put it.
I think the best example of that, I think, may have been his first ever episode on the pod back in like 2016. I was scheduled to be on with, I want to say Tyler, something like that, on Faith No More. And he backed out. The other guy backed out like literally at the last minute. This was back when you're recording in the studio clubhouse at Matt's place. Yeah, and you wanted everybody to be like in person as much as possible. You had the Skype machine, you got people in sometimes, but it was very like, you need to be here at 9 p.m. on the dot. We're going to record. There was no like scheduling conflicts or whatever, like, like you have now. It was just Thursdays at 9 p.m. And so the third person backed out at like, I want to say it was like 7:30 p.m. And I messaged Brian, and he's like, no, I got to work, whatever. And I texted Peter, and I was like, hey, can you do this? And he's like, sure. So literally within like an hour and a half, he put together his 20 songs and did the show.
Yep.
Just literally at the fucking drop of a hat.
Yeah.
And I'm really glad he did, because he was, I was fairly new to the band, and he had been with them for quite a number of years, and you were like really new. So, we had a good spread of like new to seasoned listeners. And I think he put on some songs that really needed to be there, that our dumbasses would have missed.
He never had a problem fighting for the songs that needed to be. He didn't always win, especially like as I got stubborn and kind of started learning the game. But like he was never one to like, again, referencing the playlist, one of the first songs I put on here was Soul Meets Body by Death Cab for Cutie. And the reason I put that on there is the exasperated sigh I got from him when I told him, no, I don't have that song. He was like, what? Are you kidding me? I was like, yeah, I don't have it. I mean, again, it's funny, like the juxtaposition of like Faith No More, like you're talking about, it's just my ignorance and not knowing. And then something like Soul Meets Body is more like me trying to way overcorrect, like knowing too much. And, now I'm more in the middle, and I could understand a song like that being part of the conversation. But when he could not, he was just in shock that I did not bring Soul Meets Body to the conversation at all. And I think I didn't concede on it. I don't think it made our list. I think when we came back around, I was like, yeah, I think we can do without it. As I'm famous for doing.
Wow.
Yeah, I know. I'm very famous for that. Do you have like a song choice story, John? Like with Peter?
Yeah, they're both from the championship editions, the Radiohead and REM that we did. And it's a little bit of the opposite, whereas like he and I were on a team fighting for these songs and we got shot down ultimately. But we were like the underdog team together. And like, he's from Florida, I'm in Georgia, so we kind of have this geographical us against the world thing that we did. And like the Radiohead one especially, I think he and I were the only like pod regulars on that one. There was the rest of them were from the Radiohead pod and pretty much new to the format. And it got to, I don't remember if it was the finals, I think it was. And my favorite Radiohead song is Let Down. And he was with me on this and we were fighting for it. And I remember when it didn't make the final list, I just remember like he and I just both going like, oh, come on. Like, and that's been vindicated a little bit, I will say, because that song has become like a TikTok hit, I guess. And like when they finally played some shows last year, they played it almost every night. But that's one that I remember. And then in the REM Championship Edition, I think one of the albums that came out early that I was fighting for was New Adventures in Hi-Fi, and he was with me on that. We both were kind of fighting for those songs, and Be Mine was one that I remember too, that I think we both had it. We might have even been the only ones that had it in the finals. But that was one I remember him saying that one hurt a lot, and it did me as well.
It's always, I remember specifically with the Radiohead one, like the after comment, because we didn't record like an after the fact or anything, but like we were trying to set up, hey, when's the next one? What are we going to do next? And like I was trying to gauge whether I could hook, the Radiohead pod into coming to do the show. But I remember like, it's funny, like Peter was never afraid to like, fight for his songs, but he was pretty reserved. Like he would really only speak up like if he really, had something to add. But like when we were done, like I think he goes, I cannot believe Let Down. Like you could like he went straight for that, and like we're all just kind of laughing about it afterwards. And like that is a big part of.
Well, you were laughing. I was not laughing.
Oh yeah, I laugh at all of those championship editions because I'm not involved. So it's
just wait. You're gonna get your chance.
It's pretty great not being involved in those, but like yeah, like it just, to that point though, like those the after the facts, like after the pods, like so again, sometimes he would be so reserved on the episode, and you'd really have to kind of like reach out and really like make sure you're engaging Peter to keep him involved unless he had something to say. But like the second we'd hop over to the after the fact, nah man, like he'd hop right in and he'd have things to say, and we'd have these interesting conversations about, I mean, let's be real, Green Day, Weezer, like those are the repeating conversations that we have.
Refreshing wild cherry cola meets smooth cream. The treat you deserve. Pepsi Wild Cherry and Cream. Treat yourself.
Kraft Mac and Cheese is better than 90s hip-hop. We'll remind you of your childhood without making you feel incredibly old. Kraft Mac and Cheese. Best thing ever.
I know you only did the one with him, Anderson, but was there, like, I don't recall there being, I feel like it was pretty easy going on that episode, wasn't it?
Yeah, it wasn't bad. Peter was so reassuring at the end because that was the one where we put our dog to sleep about an hour before we recorded.
That's right.
Oh my God.
And I was increasingly drunk as it went along.
Yeah.
And when we wrapped the episode, Peter's like, "No, you did great. You seem like you belong here." And I'm like, "That's a very nice lie you told me there."
I had forgotten about that. And I mean, to be fair to us, like you insisted because you felt like you needed it. But like, yeah, again, Peter was.
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
I identify with the guy, and we got a show to do. Let's do the show.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think if he was in that spot, he probably would have recorded too.
Yeah. Speaking of Peter not speaking up, so I also put on the list Guns N' Roses' Paradise City, which is infamous, in pod lore history. Again, Peter was there for a lot of history on this pod. And this is an instance we've talked about ad nauseum. I don't know that it's ever necessarily come up on the pod. It's come up on many after the fact. Some people were introduced to the pod through that episode and stayed aboard because of that episode. A lot of people say that's their favorite one. But I'll say this again because this is going to go to the main feed. I felt bad for Peter that episode because it was myself, Alfredo Torres, and Bob France in one room for the first time in like 4 or 5 years. And anybody who knows the history there knows that we did radio together. And so, like, it's the three of us getting right back to making radio on the pod, like, immediately. And poor Peter is on the Skype machine across the room from us. And so, like, we're just going at it. And, like, that's one of those ones where, like, I would have to be like, look at the guys and be like, okay, we need to stop. Let's get Peter involved. And then, like, there's no stopping Bob Fresh and Fredo when they get going. But like
3 minutes later, you would say, "Let's stop and get Peter involved."
Yeah, exactly. And then the episode is closing. I'm literally wrapping it up, and Peter unfortunately has to sit there for another 45 minutes while Bob is going to bat for Paradise City, which had gone into the bin. It's like, I can't believe this is happening. And he's like, I can't believe that Paradise City isn't on this list. And again, it's one of those ones where, like, yeah, I would probably do it differently now. But, like, at the time, I was just trying to play by the rules and move on to the next thing. Poor Peter. I know, right? Oh yeah, there's Big Dipper. So Otto put on Will Woods the main character, and I wanted to point that out because, again, you talk about Peter just being willing to just jump on anything, but he put that one out. And, like, like he put it into the chat. I feel like we turned it around in like a week and a half, and he goes, "This is the kind of music it is." And like I went to listen to a song, and we were both like, "Yeah, this is Otto. Like this is Otto all over." And like it's of course like a 1,000% an Otto. He's an Otto performer. Like it. If you know Chris Otto at all, imagine what Chris Otto listens to, and you will get what Will Wood is, because it's right on point. But yeah, like he was always bringing stuff like that to the table. Just I got to explore so many different bands because either Peter was willing to put it up, and like again, Anderson mentioned Dr. Dre. We covered Dr. Dre because Peter was like, "You want to do this?" I was like, "Yeah, sure, let's do it." And he also, now this was a John band that Peter actually knew, Discount, right? Is that the one?
Yeah, it was one of the ones that I think it might have even been the first big list that I sent you when I first started doing the show. I sent you like a list of 150 bands. Like, I want to do all these. And Discount was on that list. And like, if people don't know, they're not a famous band by any means, but Discount is Allison from the Kills, her high school band, basically punk band that she started, and they're from Vero Beach in Florida, which is close to where Peter was. And so he sees the list and he's like, "Oh, I'll do. I know the guitar player. I could probably get him on the show." And I was like, "What? Okay, cool. Like I love that band. We have this like we realized that we had this like common history of like these like DIY kind of punk bands. Me and Georgia, him in Florida. So we saw a lot of the same bands and we knew a lot of the same people. Um, so yeah, that was awesome getting to do Discount, and then he got Ryan from Discount, the guitar player, to come on and talk to us, and I'll remember that forever. It was so cool.
Yeah, that was again. I hesitate to sell anybody on the dollar for after the fact in the Patreon, but like that's where those conversations happen. And we got to talk to him about the 10. Like we bounced our list off him.
Yeah.
Which was, I mean, we've only done like 5 times at this point. It's just cool that just out of nowhere, Peter's like, "Oh yeah, I know that guy." It's like, "Oh, cool." Like, I guess we'll bring him
like they'd gone to high school together or
Yeah.
something. Yeah, crazy.
in. Yeah. I'd be remiss if we didn't talk about Sparks, Jenny. Again, talk about a band that, you know, Peter was just willing to jump in on. And I don't know who put It's This Town Ain't Big Enough for Both of Us on here, featuring Faith No More. Apt choice.
Yeah, I put that up because it was such an odd choice, and I think it goes to like how persuasive Peter could be sometimes in the final round when you're picking the songs for the 10.
Mhm.
And you know, I really wanted to put This Town Ain't Big Enough for both, the original one. And then he was like, "No, I think if you've heard a Spark song, you've heard this, you've heard the original one, and it kind of works better as a duo, like as a duet. So let's put that one instead." And I was like, "Okay, sure, that makes sense." And I'm like, we didn't put like their. I mean, it's kind of arguable because like a lot of people don't even know who the band is, but we didn't put like their big hit, you know. And it just kind of crazy that we end up going with like this alternate version, which the album in general, like a lot of people don't really like because they were covering themselves, and it was kind of a it was not a very well liked Sparks album by Sparks fans, but you know, it was a ballsy move of us to do that, and it was because of Peter. And honestly, he's one of the, I think he is the reason that I listen to them. You know, like sometimes you just put on Spotify and you put on daily mix, or you put on like Discover Weekly or something like that, and it just picks a bunch of random shit that it thinks you're gonna like, and you may or may not even be paying attention to it. But like out of the blue one day I get a message from Peter and he's like, "Hey, I saw that you were listening to Sparks. They just came out with a new album. I think you'd really like it." And I was like, "Who the fuck is Sparks?" And I look back at my listening history, and sure enough, like it was in like Last FM, and so I was like, okay, I'll give it a try, and you know, listen to it, and I just immediately fell in love. Like, he knows what kind of music I like, and he completely pegged it, and I know we turned that one around like really quickly. It feels like, um, for considering how many songs they have, and
Yeah.
you know, the fact that this band has been around for 50 years and we had to figure out how to frame it and put the show out. If it was 2020, what the fuck else are we doing?
Also true. Also true. I mean, it should be noted, like, this would be a good place to, like, mention Dick Around, too. Because we all agreed on that song. And, it didn't do well at the best of that year. But, like, I feel like it's because, as opposed to viewing it as, like, Sparks, like, it was really just our anthem. And like, it really became an anthem for the four of us specifically, like yourself, me, Peter, and Chris.
Mm-hmm.
And whenever we were playing any game, we would get tired of doing the game and be like, all right, time to dick around. And then inevitably that song would come up because, of course, all we do now is dick around. So yeah, I feel like it's worth mentioning, but I saw the Sparks song on there. I was like, well, let's not double up Sparks. Gavin put on
kind of
okay,
similar to that. There was one that I was. Oh, sorry.
No, you're fine. You're fine.
Okay, there was one that I was really looking forward to doing with him, and he just randomly posted in the Discord. He's like, "Hey, there's this band. They're gutting a body of water," and like I'd never heard of this band before. And he was like, "Does anybody want to do them?" So I checked it out, and like, this band is great. Like, they cover a Fugazi song on their album, and I was like, "Yeah, they sound like Flint." And like, he was like, "Yeah, they've been compared to that." And like, yeah, he just discovered he just discovered this random band, and like, I was really looking forward to doing it with him. And it's the same kind of thing. Like, I'm still gonna listen to this band. Like, that's something that he found and turned me on to. Like, that's hard to do, and like, it's something that not everybody can do. But yeah, there's still, like, Justin, we have you saw what I did on the spreadsheet.
Yeah.
That we have of all the bands and stuff. So it'll be cool to still, like, he's still going to be part of the show, because you're still going to do these bands that he would have been on, and we'll still get to talk about it.
I wanted to point out, because since you brought up, like, just the idea of discovery, there was the John F. We did one John F. sessions, and one of the bands on that was the Rentals, and I remember that because that was Peter, and I put Friends of P on this list because I remember that being like his introduction. And I mean, yeah, it's kind of, if you knew who the Rentals were, that's probably the song But I remember him, having a story about Friends of P, and, he kind of related it to himself because his name was Peter. And again, yes, you put them on the list, but Peter's excitement is kind of what gets me to come back to the Rentals, if that makes sense. And that song specifically, because it was Friends of P. If you're friends with our friend Peter, then you're friends with me. And I always kind of was drawn to that. I always thought of Peter with that song. Yeah.
Nice.
All right, a couple more I want to cover here. Did I put Black Metallic by Catherine Wheel on there? I can't remember if I did that. But that was one of his last episodes. So if I did, that would be why.
I actually just thought of a song that I didn't add to the list, and he wasn't on the panel, but I have a story about it.
Okay.
I can add it right now. So just make it official. Way back in the day, like probably some of the first episodes that we did, I was on the Blur episode, and he had never been on the show. And I tell him about it, and I say, "Here's the top 10 list that we came up with." And he's like, "What? No park life? This entire list is invalid." And I was like, "Listen, you don't understand what this is like.
Yeah.
Like you haven't done the show. You don't know like the wheeling and dealing that goes on at the end, you know? Like he had not experienced that." And he's like, "I'm just saying, how can you have a top 10 list of Blur and not have park life?" And I'm like, I'm fucking telling you, dude. Like it just didn't happen. I don't know what to say." And he was arguing with me about a song that he wasn't even on the panel. So I feel like I need to go back and add that one just for him. He finally made the list.
Yeah, for sure.
You're welcome, Peter.
I think somebody added Time by Pink Floyd. I mean,
That was me.
Oh, okay. Did you have a reason? It just reminds you.
The way about it, if you have a favorite Pink Floyd song, there's always a reason behind it.
Mm-hmm.
And it was one of the few times where he was very excited to make his first round pick. And the line that he went to was, oh, I have it written down here. One second. Yeah. And then one day you find 10 years of Got Behind You. And he said it just hit him like a ton of bricks.
Mm.
And here we are a year later, and I think it's hitting us all like a ton of bricks.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Hi. Yeah. I mean, I had a complicated history with that episode, so some of that stuff kind of got blocked out of my head. But Gavin added the Beavis and Butthead theme, and I thought that was great because both Peter and I there'd be these episodes, and there's times where John will present a band, and we'll be chatting and trying to figure out and John will ask me, "Hey, do you know anything about this band?" And I'll be like, "I saw him on Beavis and Butthead." And I feel like oftentimes like Peter and I would have that same conversation with each other of, yeah, I remember seeing it on Beavis and Butthead. And I remember like Peter would, do his Butthead impression. And almost every time it would trip me up because then it would get me going, "Stuart wets the bed." And just, we would all fucking lose it because I would just get stuck in a loop. And it was all because Peter he always liked to say that he just naturally sounded like Butthead, but if he would put on the Butthead just like a little bit more, like it would crack us up.
Yeah. I think it's accurate to say he sounds just like Mike Judge.
Yes. Because he would
sounds just like Butthead if he just tries a little bit.
Yeah. And I mean, he would do all those. Like I feel like in Bell and Dubs, one of the seasons we wrote a Tom Anderson type character. He did that voice too.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh God.
Let's see. We already talked about Faith No More. Was Brian the one who put Candlebox on, or did you, Anderson?
That must have been Brian. I only put those two songs on.
Okay. But Candlebox was definitely Peter. Like the last 2024 and 2025, like he kind of got onto that panel of like let's revisit these 90s, for lack of a better term, one-hit wonders, and let's revisit them and let's give them, the time of day, like Live, Candlebox, Bush. This is Gavin Rossdale from Bush. Like all those bands, like he was forever going to bat for these bands. All right. this one's going to be really hard to say, and I'm giving everybody like a heads up on what's coming. The episode will already be out by the time this hits feeds. I'm giving everybody a heads up that this will be on next year's best of. I won't hear any arguments against it. So the playlist opens up with Foxy Shazam's "Oh Lord," and yes, it is a stellar song. It's a great choice for Foxy Shazam if you know the band. But Foxy Shazam is Peter's last episode, and we're recording this the day before it comes out, and it's gonna hit feeds. And this song had to be there because he also just loved it. Like, I had this conversation with him about this band just a couple days before I found out. I miss my friend.
Your planet is now marked for death.
Marvel Studios' The Fantastic Four: First Steps is now streaming on Disney+.
We will protect you.
As a family.
Light him up, Johnny!
Marvel's first family is certified fresh on Rotten Tomatoes.
That is fantastic.
And critics say it's one of the best superhero movies of all time.
Oh!
Marvel Studios' The Fantastic Four: First Steps, now streaming on Disney+. Rated PG-13.
What time is it, Ben?
It's clobber time!
Yeah, I was gonna, when we did the best of and talked about failure at the end, like, it got, like, that's when it, like, because I had just found out a little bit before we did that, and it was like I had to mute my microphone at the end when you were talking, like, that's when it, like, was real. And it's gonna be, yeah, I can't imagine. Yeah, that episode, I'll probably wait a little bit before I listen to that episode. Like, it's just gonna be too raw. Like, I tried listening to the Catherine Wheel one last week, and I had to turn it off. Like, I just couldn't deal with it right then.
Yeah. It was, not to make this about me, but I lucked out because that's a shitty way to put it, but like, I had edited that before I had found out and posted it before I'd found out. But Foxy, I didn't. But
yeah.
to spin it positive, I got to hear my friend one last time. And to kind of bring it back to what you were saying at the beginning, I have hours of conversations with my friend that are recorded that I can go listen to at any time.
Yeah.
And it's very real that he was such a very central part to Deprogrammed and the Legion of Stupid, like, universe. Like, the fact that this is happening right now is because we all loved him so much. Whew. I don't know how to move past that one, but I had to save that one for last because it's the heavy hitter.
Yeah.
The best thing to do would be to play the Seinfeld theme here, I think. But for real, like, that would be something he would do. Like, he would so break this. Like, he would find some way to make us laugh, and that would be the way to end it. And I just wanted to thank you guys for doing this with me. I know it's not much, but it's something, and Peter was an important part of this. And we
Hello, Charlene Schmidt here. I wanted to share a quick story about Peter because it has to do with one of the few times I recorded Deprogrammed. And he was also on this particular show that we were doing, and it was for Muse. And things were going pretty smoothly for the vast majority of our recording. No massive squabbles. And, if you knew Peter, you knew that he was not bullheaded or overly competitive. He always had a thoughtful opinion behind whatever he was going to say, but he was never combative about it. Well, anyway, we're going through the process of forming our list, and we get to what is going to be the number one song for this pack. And this is where I started trouble. That's what really happened. Peter had the kind of off-the-wall idea that maybe we should start the list with Knights of Sidonia, which is a fairly unique track and definitely a favorite in the Muse catalog. However, it is so different that for somebody who had never heard Muse before, I thought, I wonder if that's not a great representation of what you can expect from this band overall. And so Peter's going on about why this is a great idea and making a really good case for it. And Justin is on board. And so then, Justin, I think you said something to the effect of, well, are we doing this? And so then my little troll ass had to say, nope, I can't, you guys. This is why. And I made my case. Somehow I won this disagreement, because it wasn't even an argument. It was just I had a different opinion, and I do hope that Peter forgave me for shooting down what would have otherwise been a really great idea. For people who at least had an idea of Muse and what their music was about, definitely put Knights of Sidonia first and get their attention. But for somebody who has no idea what to expect, no, I put my foot down. So, Peter, we miss you, man. You were truly a lovely human being. We need more people like you in the world who were thoughtful, gentle, compassionate, and a hell of a lot of fun to be around. I know my world is better having had you in it. So, miss you, dude.
Oh, before we go, I'll put the link in the description, but what was the place we had found, John? You had found in Orlando,
It's an Orlando-based humane society organization that helps, adopt out animals, and it's like a shelter. Yeah.
If you knew Peter and want to make a donation in his name, that would be awesome. I'm also going to put this, it's going to hit the free feed, but if you want, I'm also going to put it on behind the paywall on my Patreon and make it like $1 or something, like just a one-off buy, and anything that makes, I will make a donation. So like, I don't know, if you're not too keen on putting your information on a donation or something, then you can buy the episode from me on Patreon, and I'll make the donation, as, one entity. So if that, either way you want to do it is cool with me, just consider doing it if you were a friend of Peter and you are listening to this. With that said, though, we love you, Peter. We will miss you. Does anybody else want to say anything before I end this?
Dicks out for Peter.
Do we mention he was on, if my math is right, 64 episodes.
That's, yeah.
Plus the 2 championships. And you wouldn't expect it. He was really the unsung hero.
Yeah. He was always willing to turn something around quick, too. Like, there was a point where Peter would do an episode, and then, like, he would immediately be, like, down for the next one, and we would turn it around in a week. And, just because he was just willing and ready and willing. And, that's kind of how that 90s panel happened, is we would do an episode and then we'd be like, yeah, man, that was fun. Like, what's another one that we can kind of go to bat for? And, that's how you end up. If you would have told me that I would cover live favorably 10 years ago, I would have laughed in your face. Like, I would have been like, are you kidding? You want me to listen to this band? And I did. And, I know Everclear ended up being, was that you and Brian Anderson? Because Peter was supposed
to.
Christian, that's right. But still, Peter was supposed to do that.
Christian and Brian and him were such good episodes.
Yeah.
And anytime you got him and Jenny together, those were such good episodes. And that guy, Peter and anyone was a good episode.
Yeah, man. So I think, Jenny,
you said it.
Yeah. I think you said it best, though. The best way to get out of here. If you want to say it uninterrupted, and then I'll hit stop.
Dicks out for Peter.
Dicks out for Peter, y'all.